Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thanks again for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. Taking a quick look here again at Bitcoin, seeing what's going on. We're going to jump into some of the back-end data here and essentially just help understand what the heck happened yesterday. I think we all know. I mean, it was pretty much just honestly, a minor decrease from Bitcoin overall, maybe about 2%, but the whole entire alt market dumped. Okay, now again, main reason for that is because Bitcoin dominance was increasing and it has since continued to progress lower. So once more, Bitcoin dominance needs to stay at a certain point to be able to maintain that, and we kind of went below that, or sorry, above that level, and then all the alts went down, essentially. Okay, so again, just something to be mindful of in the back end there. We also want to look at some liquidation levels here. Some long liquidation levels for low leverage, essentially, is about 35,200. So we got, those guys came kind of close, but not terrible. We were about 1,000 off, but you can see those liquidation levels there. There's some new shorts at about 37,800. Those are some low leverage as well. Okay, so I'm glad to see less high leverage in the market. We can see yesterday too, not quite as many liquidations as we'd expect. Like we actually had more shorts getting liquidated than longs. Okay, so it's probably some of those late shorts getting liquidated there. And if we take a look at the aggregate amount of net longs versus net shorts, we got more people trying to long today. Okay, so just kind of some back-end data there. We want to take a look quickly at open interest. I'm curious about longs and where they're hedged. We can see longs have the most amount of position size, about 36,400. Okay, once again, we talked previously about 36.5 being kind of that level. So we're right there at that point for the most part with longs. Likely a very similar scenario with shorts, I'm speculating. They're right there at about, yep, exactly 36,500. So we got the most interest at 36.5. That's the average true range essentially for Bitcoin in this last couple of weeks. Okay, so it's important to recognize that just based on the simple fact that's going to be kind of a price and point where the price will tend to average itself out or gravitate towards, and it's somewhat of a support and resistance level. So taking a quick look here at the liquidation levels here, you can see a lot of longs that got liquidated down here. Not quite as many as you'd expect. But once more, we got some decent sized longs here, about 35,100. So those are those low liquidation longs typically. And then of course we got some, I wouldn't say it's high leverage or low leverage. We don't really truly know, but at this point we got about 37,850 as a large accumulation of shorts. Okay, so the price does come up to that level. We could very well see the price action, reject, or more importantly, probably blast through, because in most cases when you have that much liquidation, you'll probably see somewhat of a short squeeze where the shorts get squeezed out and then they hedge their shorts with longs. We'll start to see some breakout traders at 37.8 as well, which we've seen in the past too. So again, the 37,800 is a strong liquidation level, just a place to be mindful of. That basically implies the price action should retest that level here, under the impression we can pass a few things. Okay, and what I mean by passing a few things is just some simple things that we need to kind of get back on track with. First of all, we're still not bearish on the daily time frame. We're over 50, under 70 on the RSI. That's typically a great sign. To quickly note here, we can see this upper liquidity level, of course, that has previously been filled, but once more there is still more liquidity up there at about 38,000. So once again, 37.8, 38,000 even. Tons of liquidity. We've also got the most amount of volume here that was approximated right there, about 34,500. So in the last couple weeks of trading, even though we have the second most amount of volume at 36,500, 34,500 is that strong support based on previous volume and just a lot of accumulation. Okay, so just know if we do end up coming down lower, 34.5 could pose a strong support level for us. Furthermore, too, as well, with TD sequential, we don't have any overextension there. To quickly note as well, we are now officially below the 20-day SMA. As mentioned yesterday, it was a nice consolation to be above that. While it's not like a definitive, price action is just going to drop from here and the 20-day SMA is going to hold the price underneath it, that is a tentative resistance level, and that's going to be running concurrent here with that 0.5 in Fibonacci at 36,450 or 36.5. Okay. So we can presume that 36,500 being underneath that now is the new resistance. Okay, so potential resistance level at 36.5. Let's see if the 4-hour tells us anything different here. With the 4-hour time frame, again, I'm trying to look for validation, right? And to me, validation comes in a few different ways. Being up over 50 on the RSI is one of those. So right now, any type of uptrend is potentially invalidated with us being below that level. Again, it's not like a line in the sand, but it's something to kind of be mindful of, that we are kind of on the bearish side of things. I mean, how could we not be, right? When we had a, what was it? Okay, it was more like a 5% drop. The 2% drop I was referring to was this little candle here. But generally speaking, from top to bottom, we saw about a 5% correction yesterday from Bitcoin, and that pushed us underneath 50 on the RSI. If you look beforehand, when we were under 50 on the RSI, it looked something like this. We could very well be on the same exact trajectory. Again, it's not exact science, but there's that potential. We are also under 50 on the RSI right here, right in this range. Again, being below that 36,500 mark kind of puts us under that level, okay? So again, all the more reason to close at 36.5 or higher today. It's kind of what we're hoping for. When we look at the MACD, we haven't swung upwards, but we're starting to lose a little bit of momentum there. That's a slightly positive sign. And as far as moving averages are concerned, we're stuck under three of the shorter term ones, 20, 50, and 100, okay? So those three SMAs are essentially holding the price action in place. It's common for the price to kind of take its time to get back up above those levels. So once more, it kind of just speaks to the fact that 36.5 is that resistance level we got to be mindful of. Okay. The 200 is trailing behind there, right at about 35,000 even. So again, we got some support level there, kind of on the increase. So in summary here, the 4-hour time frame is not bullish whatsoever. We came down to an 8 and got a reset on TD sequential, so it would make sense for us to have a slow crawl to the upside. I would not expect something along these lines here, unless there's some kind of fundamental catalyst. And again, yesterday was somewhat of a fundamental catalyst too. You got to recognize too with CZ, $4.2 billion in I think fines that they have to pay the U.S. government, and then something else too as well. What was it? He posted $175 million bail, and he was released today, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of interesting stuff that occurred with Binance. And again, when Binance is under scrutiny, of course the market's going to take somewhat of a tumble, because obviously it's a really, really big exchange. It's the largest exchange based on volume in the crypto market. So just something to be aware of. Last thing we want to look at here would be the hourly. And just to quickly note on the hourly here, we are still under the cloud. But as I mentioned yesterday, when this lagging span comes close to the price action, which it's doing right now, it's oftentimes a case in point where you want to consider closing your short. So if you have a short open, you may want to consider closing it, but you got to keep in mind that this high right here is rejecting off this most recent low, kind of reaffirming that resistance at maybe about 36,700. So we might have somewhat of a resistance there. But the truth is, this whole channel right here will be a resistance between 36.4 and 36.7, just mainly based on, well, Fibonacci levels, 0.5, 0.382. Those are common Fib levels. But ultimately, we're below the cloud. The moving average is kind of hanging out right there at that range. So we're going to have some difficulty getting across that. In a perfect world, we close today somewhere up here at about 36.7, and that would confirm, I wouldn't say bullish, but it would confirm a short-term bullish uptrend and a slight potential reversal. Again, to be able to reverse things, and I got to reiterate this and clarify because people want to know. Again, I teach this in my trading university, so if you're part of my community, be sure to watch that's available on our webpage for our members. And what it is it's there's trend reversals that you have. So in other words, you have a descending trend, of course, that's creating lower lows and lower highs. That's where you kind of saw that, right? Price is moving down. As that continues to move down, when it hits its bottom, at least the tentative bottom, the way to identify a reversal is to look for range-bound activity. Okay, so ideally, the price is range-bound for the next foreseeable future. If it goes perfectly well, we kind of skip that altogether and we establish higher lows and higher highs. Now, we do have a higher low in play so far, but we don't know how much lower it's going to go, right? So until this kind of bounces, then that would be establishing our higher low. That's a good start. But the ultimate confirmation is getting this next high to be somewhere above this most recent high. Okay, so establishing 2 higher lows and 2 higher highs is essentially what you're looking for. That would be somewhat of a trend reversal. Because again, if we cannot get past this guy right here with another higher high at 36.7, then we're either presumed to be range bound or still descending. Okay? Those are things we want to try to look for. So ultimately, I'm on the lookout for that, for some kind of reversal here. But at this point, it's still pretty good shape in the overall sense of things. But once more, we got to presume it's going to continue lower until it doesn't, because we haven't established any shift in momentum here, minus this little bit of an uptrend, which could very well just continue down. Okay. So by no means am I saying we're in the clear, but this is a good start. And I think if we can continue another higher high and a higher low, close preferably 36,800 or higher today would be great. I'd even take a close at 36.5 today. But again, above that 36.5 level is extremely important. Okay. All right, folks, hope that made sense and I clarified that correctly. Again, getting a lot of good feedback with our new exchange that we're working with here. Be sure to reference them as well. CryptoCash is a referral link, or just use the link down below. If you want to qualify for some of these benefits, there's no VPN, no KYC. A lot of our members are making the transition just because it's a phenomenal exchange, but we need to have options here in the US, Canada, and other countries as well, where KYC was a very difficult thing for a lot of folks earlier this year. All right, thanks again for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.